This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
My name is Yuri. I work for a crypto tax platform named Divly, and for the last 3 to 4 years, I've done nothing but explore the crypto tax space. I've talked to over 1,500 people about their crypto taxes. I scour every crypto tax subreddit, and I've also looked at countless exchanges and their efforts or lack thereof regarding setting you up for a successful tax declaration. And I'm here to spill all the tea, and I'll also give you a tip or two to avoid getting yourself in a situation you don't want to find yourself in. Okay, let's first start with an obvious problem, but a very important one. Crypto to crypto trades are taxable. Okay, some of you already know this and think, okay, well, that's okay, that's whatever, even though you should be upset. But there are some aspects of this that are worse than you imagine. Well, the issue is that when you're selling your stocks, you realize your profit in USD or euros, and you can hold some back to pay your taxes later. When you trade crypto to crypto, you're still investing in crypto. And then say come tax time, the crypto that you acquired dropped in value. Now you still have to pay taxes on the profits, even though you've technically made a loss. The second problem is a problem I'm very vocal about, and it's an issue I've previously discussed. When you are trading crypto, you don't know what it's really costing you. Say you made a bunch of crypto trades. Can you tell me how much that cost you in taxes? I don't think so. And you would never make any purchase of anything if you don't know what it cost you. But for crypto, it's different. When you trade crypto to crypto, it's taxable, and you don't know what it costs until months later. And it's not small amounts either. Taxes accounts for 24 times higher costs than trading fees, and it's a cost that's completely invisible to us. There are some situations where you will be surprised that you're taxed. You sometimes really don't know. Sometimes you don't even really know if you're taxed or not. In most countries, when you lose ownership of a cryptocurrency, it's taxed. But the problem is, it's not always clear when you lose ownership of your cryptocurrencies. So say I'm staking my crypto on some platform, I'm just depositing some crypto, earning my rewards. But on another platform, probably DeFi, to be honest, when I deposit my crypto there, it's no longer in my possession, I've temporarily lost ownership of this, and it is seen as a sale, even though I'm performing the same action. Another annoying issue that comes to mind is this is an annoying issue for some people, comes to mind is regarding crypto exchange bankruptcies. When an exchange goes bankrupt, you can't just use the crypto you had there on the exchange as a loss. Technically, there's a chance you'll get your money back. So FTX customers, sorry guys. Only once there's no chance to recoup your investment can you claim a capital loss. There's also many things that are just completely undefined right now in crypto taxes. And it's everyone's best guess about how to treat certain transactions. And even if it is all well defined and you complete your taxes, if you get audited, it's not easy for them to verify if anything is even correct. They may even, they may write the rules, but the agents may not know how to enforce them or verify them. This can result in a lot of annoying situations where you've correctly done your taxes and the tax authority believes you've not done it correctly. Let's move on to exchanges, because there's a number of issues with exchanges as well. We expect exchanges to be reliable. All they need to do is provide a good record of our transaction histories. Many exchanges simply do not do that. And it's not limited to small exchanges either. Binance, Coinbase, they all have their own issues. And this issue is widespread. We've looked at over 100 exchanges. 40% of them do not provide enough information to help all of their users with their taxes. So this means that some of the transactions on the platform will not show in your transaction history. 60% of exchanges will only provide complete information in one method of exporting a transaction history. So they might have a transaction history file and they may provide API transaction history export. One of them at least is going to be wrong in 60% of cases. Don't assume that they're both going to be complete and the same, okay? If you're using a crypto tax calculator, read the guide for your exchange or wallet, because they'll have looked into it a bit more and they know which export you have to use. Now, I've mentioned previously that the tax authorities may not know how to verify your information. And then on top of that, the exchanges don't provide complete information. It can be a real mess. One example I have is regarding the Coinbase CSV and OAuth or API, which can provide slightly different results. One guy I spoke to, so they had to submit the transaction history file to the tax authorities when they were getting audited. The tax authorities had questions because in the transaction history file provided, there was a sale of a cryptocurrency that the user never acquired. So now if the file is complete, that will be impossible. Coinbase isn't going to sell you something when you can't afford it. or they're not just going to give you an asset for free. But try arguing with the tax authorities that Coinbase provided the wrong file instead of that it's your fault, right? And there's also some other issues of exchanges. For example, some exchanges only allow you to download your transaction history files for a couple months at a time. Some will provide you 20 files of transactions. I don't know why they're in 20 separate files, and only 12 of them are maybe relevant, or maybe 4. and some also have an API where you can only download your transaction history for the last 6 months. Essentially forcing you to use the files. But they don't tell you that, or at least it's pretty hidden. And there's more issues of exchanges. One thing that I've noticed that a lot of exchanges do is they do not provide you information on fees. And this can be very difficult to spot compared to them not importing your trades or not providing your trades. You can deduct fees from your capital gains. So essentially your taxes are just going to be inaccurate without the fees. So exchanges are now making it easy, and the choice of which exchange you use really matters, and surprisingly so. I'll definitely create a follow-up video with a tier list of the best exchanges for your taxes. There are some tier lists out there, comparing the fees on different exchanges or which assets are available. But I think one of the more important things is how easy is it to complete your taxes successfully. So I've talked about exchanges now. Now I'm going to talk about an issue closer to home. Tax calculators. Okay, there are issues there. And a big issue, one that we at Divly want to address, is that crypto taxes is very country specific. So depending on which country you're in, you just have to hope a tool exists for you and that tool takes your country seriously. A lot of tax calculators seem to be quite focused on supporting a lot of countries. Sometimes they support over 100 countries and they have guides specifically for your country. But that doesn't necessarily mean the product is actually made for your country. Okay, some of these guides are also just terrible. You don't notice this because you might not be familiar with the tax regulations. But when I'm reading some of these tax guides, and I'll give you an example, there's a very large competitor of ours who has a tax guide about Italy. And one of the main things you should know there is whether crypto-to-crypto trades are taxable or not. And they say crypto-to-crypto trades are taxed. And this is not the case in Italy. So everyone who's going to their platform to do their taxes for Italy is under the assumption that they have to pay taxes on transactions that are not actually taxed. Look at me doing this as if I'm Italian myself. So you really have to be careful, making sure you use a product that is actually made for your country, because it's not always obvious. The next problem is for those of you using niche trading platforms. So some of these tax tools support 500 plus exchanges, but I can guarantee that only the top ones are updated regularly. If you use a niche platform and they've changed their exports since your tax tool implemented them, then you might be out of luck. Some of your transactions might not import, and you might not be aware of this. So please be careful. If there are any warnings letting you know, like, hey, this transaction type is not supported, or we don't recognize it, or this file is not supported, look for that and then contact your tax platform and let them know, like, hey, I need help with my exchange here. There seems to be some problems. And that kind of brings us to someone else to blame. I've kind of blamed everyone now, but sometimes, we've got to look inward. Many people are not declaring their crypto taxes in the first place because the tax authorities barely know who owns crypto. But this isn't always going to be the case. Governments are really working on fighting this. In Europe and the UK, there's a change coming, right? So there's this thing called the DAC 8 and CARF, which means that exchanges will have to share client information directly with tax authorities. So the tax authorities will know about your cryptocurrencies. And at that point, I hope you are using an exchange that makes it easy to do your taxes, you figured out how to use the tax tools, and you have access to your entire trading history. Because otherwise, you have to cough up a large amount of money to pay your penalties for failing to declare your crypto taxes. You might be thinking, okay, now it's starting to get serious. I don't want to face penalties. Let's get some help. Well, first, professional help is going to be very expensive. If you want to find professional help, some tax tools do provide additional services for a very high price. But, most accountants are not going to be involved in crypto. They don't want to get involved in that. It's too complex. It's too much risk. So really, you're just going to have to focus on doing your taxes yourself. But in general, for crypto taxes, that's just extremely difficult. Say you just stake crypto, suddenly you have 10,000 transactions, and you have to price all those staking rewards on every day you receive them. That's not easy to do. You sprinkle in a lot of trades and some DeFi, maybe some NFTs, and you need specialized tools to do your taxes. Actually, let me just say, you have to use tools. And yes, okay, I work for a crypto tax platform. But you have to use these tools, otherwise you're going to make mistakes. You can't do it by yourself without tax software. You really can't do it. Now, I do want to bring us to some suggestions to avoid getting into a mess. First, it's a big thing to quit, but I'd say don't use DeFi. Okay, stay away. It's a trap, especially crypto games. You're not going to get things right. If anything, it's going to require a lot of manual work. So yes, DeFi, pinnacle of freedom, no intermediaries, but also no one's going to be there to help you with your taxes. Next tip, crypto tax software provides tax guides for each exchange. Okay, don't assume you can find the correct transaction history information by yourself. Follow the guides. It happens all the time. People aren't following the guides. They're wondering why their transaction history on the platform doesn't look correct or on the tax platform doesn't look correct. Follow the guides, okay? The tax platforms have looked over all these exchanges and they know what's best to do. Next, don't use many exchanges. Use maybe 2 or 3 at most if you must. But some people use like 9 exchanges and a blockchain or 2 because they found some niche altcoin somewhere and they really want to have it and it's only available on a niche platform. When I see this, I wish them luck. I'll help you out. I'll do what I can. But I'm just a man. You got 5,000 plus transactions over 9 exchanges, and there's an error somewhere. Like, good luck finding that. That's gonna be so time consuming if you find it at all. At the very least, make sure you're using exchanges that provide you with complete information. Lastly, for those down on our luck, I would say join the crypto tax Reddit page. Because at this point, it's basically just a support group, and you don't want to feel alone in this. Now, after all this doom and gloom, is there any hope left? Yes, if we massively change the tax system, some countries do a pretty decent job to make taxes more fair and easier to do. There are a lot of very good ideas out there and regulations we can implement to make taxes easier. But that is for a later video where we are going to fix the travesty that is crypto taxes. It will show here if it's ready. If it doesn't, then subscribe, get notified, and I wish you luck.